everybody, and welcome to this revision workshop with the Learn Support team. The date is the 18th of June, and I'm Mark Curtis, and I have my colleague here, Julie Griffiths. How are you,
Julie
Julie?
Griffith. Hi, Mark. It's good to see you, even if it's remotely.
Well, the purpose of this
Good to be on the
workshop,
same screen with you.
yes, yeah, you're right, indeed. The purpose of this workshop, folks, is to help you revise. We're at the season now, it's the 18th of June, where you should be revising for your exams. Okay, now revision is actually quite hard. Julie, do you think revising is hard?
Well, it gets overwhelming for me because I don't always know what to revise.
Yeah, yeah. No, I always find revision difficult. There's so many ways to revise. How do you do it? But the most important thing, I think, is getting started. And getting motivated to do it. The bottom line is we need to revise to pass our exams. Okay, so we'll move on here to the first slide. Okay, so the basics of revision. There's a few basics that we all need to do when revising, and it's the first thing is we need to look after ourselves. We need to look after our mind and our bodies. And how do you do that? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to sleep. It's recommended for adolescents, which is your ages, teenagers, you need to sleep between 8 and 9 hours. There's no good going to bed at 1 in the morning and getting up at 7 to go and sit an exam for 9. You won't be able to function right. You want to set yourself up for the day, and sleeping and having a good sleep routine is key. Now, Joey, I'm sure you're the same as me, but whenever I had an exam, I used to stress about it, and maybe I couldn't sleep because I
Mm-hmm.
was worried
Yeah.
about the exam the next day. But the key to that is building yourself up a few days prior to the exam, getting yourself in a routine of getting up early and going to bed early, and that will set your body clock. But it's vital, very, very vital that you set a routine for your sleep and you get 8 to 9 hours rest. If you need, the learning support team have a study calendar that we can send on to you, or a study timetable, and it'll help you organize your day in how to create a routine for revising and your social life. And you can include your bedtime, your meal time, that absolutely fantastic to follow. The next thing is have a breakfast. I don't eat breakfast in the morning. It's something I struggle with. It's something I've always never done. But whenever I sit an exam, which I'm still doing, by the way, and I'm sure Julie is as well, because we're always learning, I make sure I get a breakfast. I eat a banana. Bananas high in potassium. Or I have even a breakfast bar, something to give me the energy and the boost I need. Now, that's not a boost drink I'm talking about. I'm not talking about a Monster Energy drink. I'm talking about a good, nutritious breakfast.
Um,
And they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Isn't that right, Julie?
yes, and protein. I've had a lot of teachers and mothers tell me that a good protein with like eggs and bacon really is a good breakfast, actually.
Yeah.
Eggs have a lot of protein and a lot of nutrition, but they give you energy to help your brain think. So, good protein breakfast is always a good idea. And that's what I had this morning, an egg and a banana,
Very good.
boiled
And
egg.
if you're like me and you enjoy your food, sometimes I have a Yankee breakfast, I call it, Julie, which is pancakes and bacon and a bit of maple syrup. You can't go
Mmm.
wrong with that.
There you go. Yep, that sounds good.
So put the energy drinks aside, folks. You need to drink water. Some people don't like water. They say it tastes nothing. You can add flavor into your water. You can have diluted juice with no added sugar, whatever, but you need to have water. It's recommended we drink 2 liters of water a day and to keep our bodies hydrated. Our brains are majority made up of water. If your brain is not hydrated, how are you going to succeed in your exams? How are you going to be able to even revise? Okay.
Another thing I do is put cucumbers or strawberries or mint into my water, and then I just refill it with water. But so you get some flavor without getting a lot of sugar.
Well, that's a great tip, Joe. I must try that myself. Something I don't really do. But no, definitely have to try that myself.
Cucumbers, especially. My husband doesn't like it, but I do like putting cucumbers in my water with either strawberries or some other mushed fruit that gives you
Yeah,
that flavor. Yeah.
very good, very good. Or if all else fails, you could just go and buy strawberry water out at the shop.
Well, strawberry water has that sugar in it, that low, the bad, the fake sugar.
Oh, right, yes, yeah.
So,
Um, well, yeah,
but it's better than
there's ways
nothing.
around it,
Yep.
isn't it?
Hmm.
And also, like I say, I stress. I'm terrible at stressing. I've always stressed, and I'm sure you stress as well. But you need to stay calm, and one way of doing that is by practice mindfulness. Now, I could do a whole other workshop on mindfulness. I'll not get into it, but go on your phone. We're all tech savvy. Type in mindfulness, and it'll be a great way of meditating, calming your body down, and staying calm. Um, even how you breathe and how you talk to yourself is key. So yes, definitely stay calm. If you find it hard to, meditate. And to revise, we need to study in a silent place. We can't sit in the living room while our family's watching EastEnders and revise. We're easily distracted. Our mind is focusing on too many things at once. A conversation with your parents over there and the TV on over here. It's just too much. The brain is overwhelmed. We need to be in a silent place. If it's difficult to have a silent place in your house, you have a dog barking, you have little brothers and sisters, get up and go to the local library. Um, it's a very quiet place. There's meeting rooms. You know, take responsibility for your own revision and your own study.
Good points,
Okay,
Mark.
so Julie, is there anything to add there before I move on?
No, I think you covered it well. Good. Good points.
Um, there's the key thing about working in silence is this. There's a wee quote that I always remind myself: work hard in silence, and to make the success do the noise. So if I work hard in silence, I revise. Yes, it's not going to be easy. Nobody said it's going to be easy, but it's going to be worth it. So if I go to the library and I work hard in silence, when I get my results, I'm going to make the success do the noise. Because when I walk into my house with my grades, my parents or my family are going to be shouting and roaring about the results. Okay, so remember that we quote if you don't remember anything else from this workshop. Work hard in silence and make success make the noise. And also, there was another wee one there. It's not going to be easy, but it is going to be worth it. Okay, so revising. There's so many things to do. Here's some techniques. Write down a summary of a topic. If you don't like writing tough, you're going to have to revise. Okay, I'm not talking about taking an A4 page and writing everything you know about it. I'm talking about writing down a summary. Again, your essential skills tutor has covered paraphrasing and literacy. It's worthwhile going back and reading the notes on how to do that. But one of the many things that I do is flashcards. What are flashcards? Well, flashcards are little cards that you can use to write down basic points. You get them in different colors, and it's recommended that you use different colors to keep the notes jumping from the page. So, flashcards, again, this is great. If you don't like writing, you don't have to write an awful lot. One word topic answers, anything on this flashcard, just so when it comes to revising, it's easy to read. Another way is mind maps. Mind maps are brilliant. I'm sure you've been done them in school, and I can't recommend them enough. If I'm planning something, I remember from my literacy exam when I was planning, I drew a mind map. And planning is very important, and we'll get into that later. But a mind map is key. You need to have color. You need to be creative, and it's absolutely fantastic when it comes to revising to have on your wall, so you can just 10 minutes look over the whole of your unit topics. Absolutely great, and we'll get into detail on that later. Educational videos. Julie, I've heard you say in the past you're a visual learner and you're an auditory learner, and there's no better way of learning by educational videos. YouTube, a platform which is fantastic for learning. So if you're a learner that reads, and your slides and your PowerPoints and your lesson and the learning support notes are doing you justice, why not go on to the educational videos on YouTube on that topic and get more information? I know with myself, if I see it in front of me in a video, I can remember it a lot more. And plus, science has proven that the more different learning techniques that you use, visual, auditory, um, kinesthetic, across your revision, the more you will remember and understand the information. So, educational videos can't recommend enough. Discuss your ideas. Have a study group with your friends. You are all sitting the same exam. You are all going to have to revise together. Why not discuss it in a study group?
Good
If
chance to go out for a cup of coffee. I don't know what the regulations are now, but you can still meet up with a friend or two for coffee. So
which is great.
get you out of the
Yep.
house, get meeting up with friends and studying.
Yeah. Um, Nothing like a good old coffee and a yarn, huh, Julie?
Yeah,
Something that Julie and I
we're planning on meeting up to work together too here.
exactly, exactly. Yeah,
Or you can do it by
definitely. Just
Zoom.
do it by Zoom.
Yeah.
Yes, even by Zoom. Have a cup of coffee, which I do and Julie does, and have a
Hmm.
chat and discuss our ideas. We do it on a daily basis, and it would be very, very lonely if I didn't have my colleague there to discuss my ideas and discuss the work. Draw diagrams and tables. Again, similar to the mind maps, a great way of remembering how you done it and what information you put in it. Practice questions and past papers. If you need them, contact your tutor or the learning support team, and myself and Julie will be happy enough to source them for you.
And
Anything else, Julie, that you'd
yeah,
like
I
to
would
add
just say
there?
with the like educational videos or any of these ideas, if you need help finding good videos, please shoot us an email and we can evaluate them and send them on to you.
Yeah,
Some ideas, or if you're struggling with a certain area of not understanding, please ask for help because that's the best way to learn. Is asking
yeah,
questions.
yeah. That's a great point. Great point, Julie. Okay, so test yourself. The main method of revision, which is effective, which I didn't like doing, I still probably don't like doing, but it works, is a method called active recall. How do you do that? Well, you test yourself. You do the past papers and you do it as close to the real thing as possible. What do I mean by that? Well, in your exam, it's timed. Do a practice paper under timed conditions without your notes. Okay, so read your notes, do your mind maps, your flashcards, then sit down and pretend it's the real thing. Okay, um, why do we do this? Well, we do this to practice um, as close to the real thing as possible to see how we get on that environment. It's okay to sit down and read our notes and make notes and revise and think that's it, when really the whole purpose of doing so is to put yourself in a situation where it's completely different. So prepare your mindset by practicing under test conditions. Again, it's the most important aspect of the revision and it cements the information into your long term memory. And this is known as the testing effect. Okay, so there's a wee nice wee visual display there and 6 reasons why testing is important. And again, it says it reduces the exam nerves because you've been through it, okay, in a different way, but you know what they expect. And it enhances memory during stressful situations. Exams are stressful. You're sitting there, you have a time limit, and you've all this pressure on you. You know, um, you need to sort of build up to the real thing, and by testing yourself, that is what you're doing, and it helps. This is the key thing. This is the key thing. It helps you identify what you do and don't know. Okay, so you've sat the test, your practice test under test conditions. Now you need to mark it as an examiner. Okay, you don't give yourself more marks. You take the mark scheme of the test which you've just completed, um, contact your tutor or the support team when you get your past paper, and we will give you the mark scheme, and you mark it like the examiner. Okay, you will see what the examiner expects and you will see what you've written. If it's wrong, it's wrong. Okay, you need to forget the mistake but remember the lesson. Okay, so testing yourself, very important.
Thank you, Mark. I think that's a really excellent point to make because until you actually You can study all you want and think you know it, but then when you actually have to write it down, you realize how much you don't remember. So then that shows you what you need to revise. So that's an excellent point to do. And I do that a lot. I always like, for example, and here's a personal example. I was doing the written test, the theory test for my driving here a couple years ago, and I studied for 2 months, but it was a real exam. I purchased a subscription, an online subscription, just like they would have had in the center. And I studied and studied and studied, and I would not have passed if I had not done that but it was just going over and over those questions enough that I was able to pass the first time. So, and then I felt good about myself because I passed the first time. But I did. I studied and I studied and I studied for it. So, and
And
I've
interesting,
20
Julie.
years experience driving in the US, but it's different here. So, it took me 2 months to study for it.
Interestingly, Julie, I remember setting my theory, and I feel that, and the reason why I failed my theory was because I listened to my surroundings, my family members that passed their test maybe 20, 30 years ago, and they said, "Oh, it's all common sense." So I didn't take much notice. I used to think, "Oh, well, it's common sense. If there's a red light, you stop. If it's a green light, you go." However, I failed my theory. And the reason why I failed my theory was because I didn't test myself. I downloaded this app, I'll never forget it, and it was free on the Android App Store. And I downloaded it and I used that. When it came to the real exam, I had never seen them questions before because the app that I downloaded wasn't recommended, it wasn't regulated, and it wasn't the same questions that were in the exam. So many of these questions I'd never seen before. And listen, folks, if you're doing your theory, it's as simple as this. You need to revise. There is speed, braking distances you need to know. There is certain markings on the road that you need to know. And there are certain signs and situations which you need to know. And you will only know them by revising. Julie done 2 months, passed hers first time. I done 2 weeks on the wrong app and failed mine, you know.
So revision and studying, but getting the right tools. So again, if you need to know what to revise, please let us know and we'll give you some help,
Yep, yep,
some
definitely.
pointers.
Um, Again, so we have on the screen here flashcards and some mind maps. So if you can see there, the mind maps are quite, they look detailed, but they're not really. There's only 3 words there. You want to make it colorful, you want to make it compact, you want to make it bold. But they're a fantastic way of revising. They link the left and right side of the brain, are linked when we do mind maps, and they interact. And the more interaction, the more you're making your brain remember and work. Again, flashcards, as I showed you earlier, look how colourful they are. They're not. They've condensed all the notes down to a few sentences. And these sentences are important because you'll remember them and you'll remember them in your own words. And that's another point I'd like to make as well. When the tutor gives you notes or the learning support team gives you notes, rewrite the information into your own words because you're not, the chances of you remembering our sentences are very slim, but you'll remember your sentences. So again, try to get into that, and making that into your own words.
I
And
actually have a friend of mine who was in nursing school and she used flashcards to
yeah,
revise for her nursing exams because they're very difficult. And we'd go out to eat and she'd have a pack with them, or she'd be passenger in a car and she'd be revising. She carried those with her wherever she went, and she had 5 or 10 minutes she'd be flipping through, or she'd have me quiz her. I would ask her what the term was, and then she would have to give the definition. But she passed. She did really well and got, but she really spent a lot of hours studying too. So
yeah, yeah. And as well with flashcards as well and mind maps, you can be visual and make drawings. So for instance, in engineering, I might forget what a vernier caliber is. So I would draw that on my mind map, and I would label the components of a vernier caliber and what it is. In joinery, I might not know or remember the components of a chisel. So I would draw a chisel and label the chisel, and I'll remember that. And that's what you do revising. There's no good just looking at a picture of a chisel and trying to remember that, unless you have photographic memory, of course. Some people do, some people don't. I certainly don't. But if I drew that out and labelled it, I would remember it. Again, this is a wee display called Revision Ready, and it's a lot of different techniques put into one. There's many ways to revise. We have here a timetable. Okay, again, the learning support team have timetable resources. Get in touch, and we will be happy enough to support you in creating your own personal timetable for your exam. Your mind maps, and then once you make a mind map, you can condense them into smaller mind maps, or even condense them further into revision cards. Again, books, fantastic resource. Online, even online ebooks, your local library. Get a book, highlight information on it, get the information to jump out of the page. We have tests in there. Again, past paper tests. Do a test under exam conditions. If you don't want to mark it yourself, if you don't trust yourself on marking it, send it off to your tutor, your learning support team, and we'll make sure that it'll be marked for you. Um, Power hour, absolutely fantastic method. A power hour. What is a power hour? Well, you and your friends meet up under quiet conditions, and you blast everything you know in 1 hour. You time the hour and compact everything together and see what you come up with. You'll remember that. You'll remember doing the per hour and the information that you included in that, because you didn't spend 6 hours revising. You done it all in 1 hour. And that brings me on to another point I want to make. Revising is difficult enough. Don't make it even more difficult by putting too much pressure on yourself. Okay? Myself and Julie work with a lot of trainees, and we understand that we all have this strive for perfection. I'm a perfectionist. Julie, I've noticed, is a perfectionist. However, we need to understand that we're not going to ace everything. We're not going to be perfect at everything. If you do a past paper and you fail, big deal. You just redo it and you learn from your mistakes. Again, you learn from your mistakes. Forget the mistake, but remember the lesson from doing that mistake. Okay, so that's a key thing. Strive
You
for
know,
progress, not
Mark, I think
perfection.
some of the best, I think Kathy was mentioning this the other day in her class, but I think some of the best lessons and things that we remember is when we make mistakes and we learn from them. Um, Kathy was mentioning she was teaching English to learners who English wasn't their first language, and she was called talking about a terrifying experience. And the person wrote down TERRFINE for terrifying because of the way she said it. And she
Yeah,
still remembers that years and years later that she needs to speak more clearly, and a lesson she learned. So we all have these little tidbits that, but if we don't make mistakes, we don't learn.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. Definitely. And did you revise in these ways, Julie, in America? Is this the culture that they sort of take, the approach?
Yeah, very much so. I wasn't into mind maps. They didn't make a lot of sense, but note cards, sticky notes are great. I love sticky notes, and I would stick them when I was in university. I would stick them all over my room, and I'm a very spatial person, so I would then picture my bedroom in my mind when I was taking the exam, and I'm like, oh, the note on that biology topic or whatever I was studying, that's on my dresser. And then I could remember oh yeah, that's what I was. So give yourself triggers to recall, because you're not going to, and organize your information. So don't just randomly sit around and try to remember a bunch of random facts. Organize it. So if you're doing engineering, organize all the metals and all the different types of metals on one sticky note, and then organize, or if you're in joinery, organize tools and joints, and organize the information, or roof types, and look at pictures, and then sit down and look at blank pictures, and then say, oh yeah, that's a hip roof, and that's a, so that you go through and understand. But yeah, very, very One thing I did last night, I'm doing a lesson, a course as well. So after I got done work, we had supper. And then I told my husband, I said, I'm going to give 2 hours. I'm going to sit down, remove all distractions, and I need to get this lesson looked at. And because it's a lot of critical thinking, so I need a really focused mind to get it done. And I got quite a bit done. I printed out, I got everything situated, made myself comfortable, had some water, got a cup of tea, and I just really deliberately created this space for me to study in, and I got a lot done. And then after the 2 hours was up, I'm like, okay, that's enough. I'm going to give myself a brain break, and we went out for a walk. But so always give yourself, say, certain amount of time, and make sure your family, especially working, learning at, studying at home, talk to your family. Can I have 2 hours of no distractions so I can study? Put your phone aside, put any video games aside, and just focus. If you need music, some people study better with music or something in the background, but just create a study space.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, and another way of doing things again is by repeating.
You know,
I smile when I see this because in school, if you were bad and the teacher wanted to punish you, she made you do lines. Well, she made me do lines anyway. And the lines was, I will behave myself in class. And I had to repeat that 200 times. Well, I tell you what, that stuck in my head for the rest of the day
mhm.
because I read it out and it was the same thing over and over and over again. Why did I remember that? Because it stuck in my long term memory. And repetition is how we do that. Okay? So I remembered I will behave in class. So the next time I went into class, I remembered I will behave in class because I read it out 200 times. By testing and retesting yourself, you will identify areas that you need to improve on. So repeat the past paper, repeat the past paper, repeat the past paper over and over and over again until you get 100%. It's the same as usually when you were going for your theory. Didn't you repeat practice exams until you got the highest grade possible? So
I
when you
did.
went in, you were
Mhm.
ready.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I would just get it till I was almost in tears. I just push myself. The other thing I read recently, it was yesterday actually. Learners have to experience or have be exposed to or repeat things 16 times before they actually have it in their long-term memory. So if you really want to use the best method of this course you're going through, repeat it at least 16 times. Do the past paper or the questions or study, and make a note of it. And that's how it comes. So a lot of people will test with things just kind of in their short-term memory, and then they forget it, and then it was a waste of time. And they will pass the test and get the course, but they didn't learn anything. But if you really want to learn something, repeat it at least 16 times before, and then you'll know it and you'll never forget it.
That's a great tip there, and I'll definitely remember that going forward 16 times.
That's a lot of
Um,
times, really.
it is indeed, but it'll work, and it's proven to work. Um, every time you repeat it, you don't have to repeat it in the same way. Now, this is key. That's why there's so many revision techniques out there. Repeat, 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 but you don't always have to repeat it the same way. You don't have to do a mind map, a mind map, a mind map, a mind map, a mind map. You can do a mind map and then do it again in flashcards and then do it again by sitting a past paper. You can test yourself in many ways and repeat it in many ways to revise.
I don't know if we have any musicians on this who watching this, but I'm a pianist. And when I was learning to play the piano, you had to practice for the younger you were, the shorter the time, but by the time I got to 16 and 17, I was practicing 2 hours a day. There's a lot of scales you practice over and over and over, and I would count how many times I practiced like the D minor scale, and I would practice that 4 octaves. I would run my fingers up and down probably 20 or 30 times a day with that scale, so I would have it note perfect. And it's not just brain, but you also get your fingers in that regard. It's like playing football. You have to practice and practice and practice to learn that technique. You can't just go out on the football field and expect to kick a goal. You want to practice it, you have to practice it, and you have to practice those techniques. So it's the same way with revising for your your other exams is you have to practice.
Yeah, yeah, great point. So now you've went through some of the revision techniques. You know how to do it. You know what ways to do it, but you just cannot be bothered doing it. How do you get motivated to study? Well, there's no easy answer to this, and Jilly and myself are akin to this. It's hard. It is hard, especially remotely. You're in your comfortable environment. You know, this is an environment where I like to come home from work and it's my place to relax, but I've had to adapt to work from home. And just like you've had to adapt to work to study from home and work and revise from home in preparation for your exam. It's hard. So I want to spend a wee bit of time on motivation. Okay, so the first thing you need to do is you need to stop thinking about it. You just need to get up and do it. You need to make a start. You need to put the pen to paper. You're sitting there watching TV or you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram and you think, I really need to revise. Stop what you're doing, get up and go and do it. If you sit and think, I really need to revise, but you know what, I can't be bothered, it's called procrastinating. And you'll continue to procrastinate and you'll not revise. If you think, oh, I'll do it after my dinner, you'll not do it after your dinner. You'll do it now. Get up and do it now before your dinner. If you get up and do it now before your dinner, when you have your dinner, you'll be able to relax afterwards. So make a start, put pen to paper. Okay? If you don't know where to start, look at the topic, look at the spec, the specification for that unit. Again, if you don't have it or you don't know what that is, contact the learning support team. We'll be happy enough to get you it, or contact your tutor and your tutor will have everything. Okay, note down the things that you're confident you know within that subject. So I'm looking at engineering and I'm thinking to myself, engineering hand tools, right, what do I know? I get a blank bit of paper and I write down everything I know about engineering hand tools. Joinery, I write down everything I know about joinery. Legislation, health and safety. First thing that comes to my mind at health and safety is the Health and Safety at Work Act. So I take a bit of paper
1974.
and I put health and safety and I write everything I need to know within that on the page. Okay, then you look at the spec again and you see if you've missed anything out. And these are the areas that you don't know or you need to improve on. If you've read something and it's not detailed enough, then you know that you need to improve on it. And again, if you don't remember anything from this workshop, which hopefully you do, remember this: a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So just get up them steps and do it. Okay?
For
Ways to
me,
motivate us. Yep.
another way I always do it is I love coffee, so I will treat myself to a special coffee. So I'll tell myself, oh, if I study for 2 hours, I can get a coffee, treat myself to a coffee or a special treat, cake or something, and it is that really does motivate me.
Yep. Yep. Definitely. That's yep. That's a fantastic point there, Julie. One that which is very very beneficial. The rewarding system. You know, think to yourself, I need to revise, but my friends have asked me to go to the cinema. Well, you know what? If I do 1 hour study, then I can go to the cinema. If I don't, I'll not go to the cinema. You need to be strict, and it's called discipline. You need to be disciplined with yourself. But you also need to reward yourself when you do study. And you know, the more study you do, the more rewards you'll get. Even say to your parents, look, if I do 1 hour study, can you, I be rewarded for that? Can I have extra pocket money? Or can I have, more time on the TV? Or whatever that might be, it's up to you. But again, fantastic, Julie. Okay, so create a routine. Again, I've said it before, I'll say it again. We have study guides, we have study timetables. Create a routine is key. And it's a gradual process of improvement. The first time you revise, you're not going to remember everything you revised. It's as simple as that. Science has proven that. But the more you revise, the more you'll improve your memory of that. And as you get into routine, you'll find it becomes more and more natural to study and stay motivated. What do I mean by that? Well, it's like this: if I set a time slot of 1 hour every day to revise, morning and night, I will get into the routine of doing that morning and night. So it's going to be hard the first day. It's going to be hard the second day. It's going to be even harder the third day because I've done 2 days already. But after the third day, look, I've already done 3 days. I'll do four. After the fourth, I've already done four. I'll do five. And you'll just build that into your daily routine and it'll become natural to you. Do you want to go out to play? Well, actually, no, um, I have to study for an hour or I'll be out after I study. Why? Because it's in your routine. And many of our learners, Julie, love routine. So build it into your routine.
I love routine too. I really love
Yeah,
it. So yeah, that's and that you're spot on, Mark, there because I have a routine. I'm working from home, so I get up, I come to work, I turn my computer on at a certain time, I make sure it's on. I check my email, I have breakfast. For lunch, I'll go outside if it's nice, but I have a routine and I get more done if I am organized than if I just kind of do with what I feel like. So it's called self discipline. It's put yourself into a timetable saying, this is what I'm going to do then. And hopefully your family will cooperate and not keep interrupting you because I know that's hard. But, talk to them and say, hey, I need to study. This is my study time. Can I study at this? And it doesn't have to be large chunks of time, it can be an hour a day, but you've accomplished something and you feel good about yourself when you do it afterwards.
yeah. Another great point there, Julie. And as well, I'm just thinking when we go to work, Julie, yes, we're working from home. But when 9 o'clock comes, we're in work. At 5 o'clock, we end work. Between 9 and 5, we're in work mode. After 5 o'clock, the laptop goes away, and again, our home is a place to relax. And it's going to be the same for you. If you sit and you think when you're scrolling through Facebook, I need to revise, you're always going to be worrying about revising. The more you don't revise, the more your body will tell you and your mind, oh, I need to revise, and you'll panic, you'll stress. But if you revise, after you revise for that 1 hour, that 2 hours, 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the afternoon, or 45 minutes or 20 minutes, whatever it is, you can be confident and relax afterwards because you've revised. So you'll enjoy the rest of your day. Okay? You'll enjoy the rest of your day if you just do it. If you don't do it, you procrastinate, you'll worry sick about it and you'll be tortured. You'll be going to that cinema, but you'll be feeling guilty because you know you should have revised. Okay, so remember why you want to study and think calmly about your goals. You're doing level 2 or level 1 engineering for a reason. You want to be an engineer, fantastic. You're doing level 1, level 2 joinery. You want to be a joiner, fantastic. Why do you want to be a joiner? Because there's loads of money in it. You're passionate about it. Remember that. But in order to be a joiner, in order to be an engineer, you need to have the certificates. How do you get the certificates? You study. It's as simple as that. And remember this, you're human, you're not perfect, and you're doing this one day at a time. And you know what you need to do to make tomorrow better. You need to take time for today to make tomorrow easier for you.
I think, Mark, one of the differences is for our learners now than when they were kids is their parents made them study, like stood over them. You need to study, you have to study. Well, now they're headed towards adulthood where you have to do, there's no one really standing over you making you study. So it becomes your choice. And so you can fritter away your time and waste your time, or you can get up and say, you know what, I'm going to make something of myself. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to do it one little chunk of time at a time. And that's all it does take. Success doesn't take brains, it doesn't take, it just takes motivation and discipline, and you can be successful.
Yeah. And take it from me and Jilly and your tutors and everybody else that has been through the same process that you're going through and still is going through the same process that you're going through. There's no feeling that is better than when you get that certificate. No one, yes, it's hard at the time and you can't see it and it's a pain having to revise and it's difficult and frustrating that you're reading something and it's not going in and when you test on it, it's not, you're not getting it right. But practice, practice, practice. Because there's no better feeling when you get that certificate because all the hard work is paid off. And see, when you get that certificate, you'll never have to do it again. You'll never have to go back. I don't have to go back and sit my literacy or my numeracy because I've just done it. I done it at the time and I put the head down. So a bit of hard work now will pay off later. Okay.
Very good, Mark. Good advice.
So
Yes.
we have here a timetable, just a sample timetable. And again, it has 8:30 to 10:30, and it's first subject and topic. You can't do it like this. This is not a one size fits all approach. You can adapt it for you. But again, this is just an example. And make sure you include your lunch there, and make sure you put rewards there at the bottom. Okay? And make sure you include your sleep in that and everything else, and follow it, because, and again, self discipline is how you do it. Okay, if you want further reading on anything else about revision, there's a link there. Love Learning Tutors, and it's a blog that, again, people in your situations have written to help you and them revise. So, all that's left to say is thank you very much for listening. Um, Julie, have you anything to add?
No, very good tips, but we all want everyone to of you to be very successful. Again, it's not smart, it's not brains, it's just sheer hard work. That's what makes a person successful. So just work hard and you will pass. Truly,
Yeah,
even and if you fail the first time, failure is not failure unless you give up. Failure is only failure if you um,
yeah,
don't. I mean, it's not failure if you don't give up. So keep plugging away, and you turn those failures into successes, and you'll be successful.
yeah. And the key thing, the great thing as well for me, is there's no time limit on a certificate of qualification, which is fantastic. Yes, there's the date of when you got it, but there's no date of when you started it. So, what I'm trying to say is, what takes Julie 2 years might take me 20 years. It doesn't matter. Because, see, at the end of the day, when I get my certificate is still going to have on it the exact same qualification that Julie has. It doesn't say it took me 20 years. It doesn't say it took Julie 2 years, but it says that I'm the exact same as Julie, regardless of how long it took. So, yes, if you failed your numeracy and your essential skills in school, get it this time. Don't let it slip you this time. Go for it, because there's no dates. Okay, and we want you to be successful, and we're here for you. We're here to make sure that you have everything that you need to succeed in your studies. So use us as a resource. Use the support team. Go back to your tutor. Your tutors and us, we get paid to help you. Make sure we're getting paid for a reason. Okay? Go to us, ask for help, pick our brains. We're here to do it, and we want to make sure that you succeed. So revise, start today, and look after yourself, folks. Again, any if you want any help or advice or any of them timetables or study guides that I mentioned, or indeed if you want this presentation, contact myself and Julie. You have our email addresses. Thank you, folks. Take care, and God bless.
Thank you, Mark.